Hey everyone, Rick here, and folks, let's introduce what we have going on here. Just several different unit types for, oh that's right, battlefields of mana. So what I was thinking about doing here, the goal of today's video is, I do this a lot, I'm going to be testing sample combats between units, and rolling the dice for them, resolving combats. I mean, I do this a lot on my own, and I was thinking, you know what? I actually talk to myself out loud while I'm doing it, because I'll be like, oh my god, he needed 6s and he rolled 2s! So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and film this. We'll see if it actually makes it up to the channel, but I thought, why not? I talked to myself anyway. I might as well, maybe include this as some YouTube content. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, a lot of, developing a game like this is balancing the units, how much they cost, what their attributes are. So, this is a very rough draft of all the core units and all of their stats, so making sure everything balances out. There's, 12 different actual unit types apart from unit commanders, warlords, sorcerers, and then mercenary units, which we probably won't get into today, if not for a while. All these figures that I have out here for these sample combats are figures that I had commissioned for Of Arrows and Blades, Battleground, for Warriors of Mana, and now this, because those games were taking these individual beautiful little 15mm figures and just moving them around individually. And so Battlefields of Mana is all about actual rank and file mini units. So it's still kind of a skirmish war game, because you don't have whole fields full of, units of 20 to 60 figures. It's literally 6, maybe sometimes 7. I think maybe it might max out at like 8. So, but I love these little 6-unit figures. All right, so who should we test first? All right, let's go ahead and do this. Every unit has a standard bearer, but all these figures, the point I was trying to get to was all of these figures I commissioned for other games. So my Battlefields of Mana figures, I just put in the commission a couple days ago. Oh my gosh, it is so exciting. 700 figures. Over 700 figures being commissioned. And then I printed out and laminated all these little stat cards. Of course, again, this is all very prototypey. Alright, so this first combat we're just going to run through here are going to be Axemen versus Swordsmen. So let's see what happens. Axemen are a little more expensive than Swordsmen, so ideally, so these are the Axemen on the left, Swordsmen on the right, so ideally, the Axemen should win, right? Let's see how well they do. Of course, it's all up to the dice, but we want to, that's why I do these tests over and over and over and over again. And, what else do we have to do when we're self-isolating? So I am combat testing the heck out of these units. All right, so Axemen are rolling on, have 2 attack dice apiece. They only get front rank attacks. So that means they're going to be rolling 6 dice. The Swordsman, same exact thing. Now, normally one of these units would have moved into another. Maybe one of them would have charged. There's bonuses for that. But instead, let's say that they just met up. We're not giving any bonuses for charging right now. We're just going to do this on a close combat. We roll off for initiative. So whenever I roll dice, I'm rolling these gold dice for the Axemen and these red dice to kind of match the red of the Swordsman. So we're rolling for initiative right now. Now the Swordsmen get an initiative bonus of 4, Axemen initiative bonus of 3. And we have 4 plus 3 for the Axemen is 7. 2 plus 4 for the Swordsman is 6. So initiative goes to the Axemen, which means they are going to strike first here. And that could be big. Now, not only do Axemen roll 6 dice, but they have what's called Brutality, which means if their results of this initial roll, any of these dice, do not beat the defender's armor, in this case 2, so they need 3s or better, but if any of these dice do not beat, if any of these dice are not 3 or better, they get to re-roll those dice 1 time. Okay, here we go. So that was actually a pretty damn decent roll because we have 3 5s, a 4, and a 3, and then they do have 1 die, a lone 1 that did not beat the defender's armor, so they do get to re-roll that, and it's a 2, so it still did not beat the armor, so that die is not going to be involved in this attack, so the result is those 5 dice there, a 3, a 4, and 3 5s. So the swordsmen get to defend against that, so they'll roll an equal number of defense dice, so they'll get 5 defense dice. Now swordsmen have an ability that's called Parry, so any of these dice that do not defend against these attack dice, they will get to re-roll those, but only get to keep them if they're 6s. Alright, so we have some kind of decent here. We have 2 4, so the 4 will block a 3, a 4 will block a 4, and a 5 will block one of the 5s, so boom, that's 3 of the 5 dice accounted for, so they have 2 dice that failed to defend, so they do get to re-roll these 2, and any 6s they'll get to keep. And no 6s. So they do take 2 wounds, so we will go ahead and do wounds now. So a wound, basically you look at their health. Each figure in the unit has a health value. In this case it's 2, so each one of these figures has 2 health, so doing 2 wounds means, oh that's right, a figure entirely has been defeated, so he is out of there. Alright, so then the swordsmen now get to fight back. Swordsmen also just have units in the front rank that can fight, so that's going to be 6 dice as well. You'll also see again the attack dice is per figure, so 2 dice per figure, so these 3 in the front will get to strike. 2 dice apiece. They don't have any offensive bonuses, so whatever's on these dice, that is what they end up with. Oh my gosh, a ton of 1s and 2s. Now the Axemen's armor is a 2, so the swordsman needed 3s or better here. Unfortunately, 4 of those dice just failed to do anything, but they do end up with 2 5s. I mean, that could still do something, so then the Axemen get to defend. Axemen don't have any defensive bonuses, so they'll simply be trying to roll 5s or better with 2 dice. And they do roll 1 5, so 1 5 will cancel out one of the 5s, and then the 2 means that this 5 got through. So again, same thing with the Axemen. They have a health per figure as well. Most of like just the regular soldiers and stuff have 2 health apiece. So the Axemen also have 2 health apiece, so we will put just a wound behind the unit to denote that one of those figures has a wound. Alright, so that was the end of round 1 of combat. The Axemen were able to take out one entire swordsman. Swordsman bloodied the Axemen's noses a little bit. So let's go to the second round of combat. Same thing. We are going to roll off on initiative. No initiative bonuses here yet. If someone had charged the first round of combat, they would have gotten an initiative bonus. There are other abilities as well that will give you initiative bonuses or initiative penalties. But that is neither the case here yet. So again, rolling off for initiative, second round of combat. And it looks like the Axemen are going to go first. Again, Axemen have an initiative of 4, so plus 3 is 7. Axemen 3 plus 2 is 5. So the swordsmen will actually get to go first here. You know, sometimes I actually root for the underdog. Like, wouldn't it be nice if these swordsmen... I mean, everyone says, oh, by the stats, the Axemen should just mop the floor with these swordsmen. And then I'm like, you know what? It'd be cool to shut you up and have these swordsmen just carry the day. So here we go. 6 attack dice on the swordsman. Let's see what we got here. And we had like a decent... So the dice that actually pierced the armor were decently high. I mean, 4s, 5s, and 6s. A couple of misses, so we'll remove those. And then this is what the Axemen are going to try to defend against. So we're going to roll these. So again, Axemen have no defensive bonuses, so they're looking for 4s, 5s, and 6s here. And they actually roll really well on defense. They rolled 3 5s and a 2. So that'll take care of those 3. So this 1 6 did get through, which is enough. I mean, you chip away at someone long enough, you are going to start peeling guys off. So again, 1 wound was already there. 1 more wound. Each figure has a health of 2. So pop. That guy is removed. Okay. Next up, we will go over to the Axemen. The Axemen strike next. So again, everyone in the front row gets to hit. So pole arms. I know these figures look like they're modeled with halberds, and in fact they are. Well, that was the closest thing to axes that I currently have in my collection in 15mm right now, so I'm just using those. Oh, folks, I can't wait to show you all the figures when they arrive. Oh, it's going to be glorious. Oh, they are gorgeous. Now, and I actually, on these little stat cards, put pictures of the actual models. This isn't going to be their paint scheme, but this is what, and so I commissioned 2 armies. I know I'm getting way over detailed, but there's literally 2 armies. They're all going to have the same kind of units, but they're all going to be different models and painted differently. So, I mean, I have all these stat cards. Okay. So here is the Axeman figure for one of the armies, and then the other army's Axeman looks like this. So not only are they going to have different paint schemes, but they're going to have different troops entirely. Oh my gosh. You know how excited I am for minis, so this is going to be so awesome. Okay, so anyway, here we go. The Axemen are striking back. So don't forget, they have Brutality, which means any of these that are not 3 or better, so any 1s and 2s, they get to reroll. Let's just keep it simply put like that. And they don't have any 1s or 2s. These all hit right off the bat. So 2 3s, 2 4s, a 5, and a 6. All right. So we are going to be rolling 6 dice in defense for the Swordsman. And don't forget, any of these dice that fail to defend for the Swordsman, they get to re-roll, and they get to keep any 6s. Oh my gosh, well, there were a couple 6s right there. This was a fantastic defensive roll for the Swordsman. So they block those 2, this 5 beats the 4, this 4. So basically, with that initial roll, they only have 1 die unblocked. So again, though, with this parry, we're not just looking for a 3-up. They only get to keep this defense die if it's a 6. And it is not close, but still, the Swordsmen are going to take a wound for that, which that's not bad at all. That's fantastic. Okay, so that was round 2 of combat. And now it is time for the Swordsman for the initiative roll. I'm losing track. I talk so much I forget what I've done. Okay, so anyway, I think we're on round 3 of combat now. So we're going to, again, go back to an initiative roll. And we have a 4 plus 4 is 8. 6 plus 3 is 9. So the Axemen are going to get to strike first this time. 2, 4, 6. We'll see what happens here. And they have Brutality again, don't forget. So these 2 2s, which failed to pierce the armor, will get to be re-rolled. And then we have all this. And, oh my gosh, with that Brutality roll, they did get 2 5s. So 2 6s, 2 5s, a 3, and a 4. Can the Swordsman come away with yet another huge defensive upset here? And the point we'll get to is, eventually, your rear rank troops are going to be eliminated, and then you'll start taking them from the front rank, which is going to affect how many attack dice you get to roll. Now, in addition, and I think the point I was trying to make earlier, and I got off track, was pole arms are a thing, which halberds and spears will allow you to attack from both the front rank and the rear rank. So that's also another possibility. Archers and crossbows get to do that too. Oh my gosh, look at this defense roll. Now this is both good and bad. I mean, they rolled a lot of 4s, 5s, and 6s, but unfortunately, these 2 4s aren't going to do anything. So there's a 6 unblocked and a 5 unblocked. So that means that is 2 wounds there. Now again, they do get to re-roll and get to keep these if they're 6s. And they are not, so that is 2 more wounds. So that's going to be 1 more wound on this guy, so that kills him, and then 1 more wound on that guy. Having this guy in either of these flank positions only matters if another unit was attacking them in the flank. You'd want to maximize how many people you had over there. But just to keep it looking nice, I'll put them in the middle. So again, here we go. And this is kind of what you expected, right? Because, you know, the Axemen... And we haven't even seen the full strength of the Axemen yet. In fact, well, technically, I mean, they're doing really good right now, but they have an ability called Fury, which means if they ever get to 50% or less of their starting block of troops, then they actually get a +1 to their attack rolls, kind of being furiously charging in there with their axes because you did so much damage to them, kind of they go berserk kind of thing. All right, so here we go again. Did the swordsman get to strike? I don't think so. So this is the bottom of the third. Swordsmen are going... This may be the last time they get a full complement of 6 attack dice here. So we are going to strike with... Oh, that was not too good. Because we have 2 5s and a 3. But all these 1s and 2s do nothing. So that means the halberds. The axes will get 3. You always roll defense dice equal to the amount of attack dice you were hit by. Oh my gosh, a couple of 1s. A 6 does take out one of those, but these 2 dice are unchecked, unblocked, which means 1 entire Axeman is just taken out. Okay, so now it is the next round of combat. Again, we are going to roll for initiative. No one is panicking yet. You panic at 50% or less of your unit size. And so swordsmen will get to strike first. They do have that higher initiative. So here we go. And it's kind of gone back and forth this entire time, hasn't it? Whoever finished the last round gets to start the next round. It seems like that's been the pattern. All right, wow, look at this. These swordsmen came to fight. I mean, geez Louise, all 6 of these dice came out swinging here. And in defense, this was actually a decent defense roll. It looks like no, it really wasn't that good at all because... Well, it was decent. I mean, so there's 2 dice, 2 attacks got through, which means another Axeman bites the dust. Holy cow! It is the revenge of the swordsman here. Okay, so that means Axemen now get to strike back. Now, they are at 50% or less of their starting force, so guess what, guys? The Axemen are furious. Alright, so what does that mean? Not only do they have brutality, but now all of their dice are +1 for being furious. So, this was not a good time for the swordsman to make them furious, but here we go. 6 dice, and these are all +1. You can't go higher than a 6. So there's 1 6. This 5 becomes a 6. This 4 becomes a 5. And then all 3 of these 1s would be 2s. And since those 2s don't beat the defender's armor, they all get to be re-rolled due to brutality. And these are all still going to be +1. And so this 1 becomes a 2, so again, that is a failure. But these 2 5s become 6s, and now you can see maybe why the Axemen cost more than the swordsman by a point. Because when they reach half or less, they come out swinging. So 5 dice, 4 6s, and a 5. I would not want to be a swordsman right now. They do have decent defense in terms of if whatever they don't block here, they get to re-roll. But again, only keeping 6s. So there is a 6, there is a 5, but 3 dice unchecked, and they do get to re-roll all 3 of these, but only get to keep 6s. And they do roll a 6, so that is important. So 2 dice break through, which means this guy is dead, and then one of these guys up front is wounded. And that is a good thing in terms of that parry being able to take out one of those extra attacks, because if this guy was then killed, they would have to, you know, they would only get to roll 2 dice, or 4 dice in their next attack roll. All right, so that was the end of that. Initiative, someone would be panicking because they're both lower than 50%, but you don't panic if you still outnumber your opponent. In this case, they're equal, so no initiative modifiers here beyond what we already have. So the Axemen are going to go first here, and oh, the Swordsmen probably don't like that. So 5 plus 3 is 8. 3 plus 4 is 7, which means the... I'm sorry. Yeah, 3 plus 5 is 8. 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay, so here we go. The Axemen are going to get to strike first. If it was ever equal, then the attacks are simultaneous, which means here the Axemen are going to be able to get all 6 of their attack dice and do a ton of damage probably to the Swordsman, and the Swordsmen are only going to get attack dice for what's left, but of course if it's simultaneous they would still get their full complement of attacks before wounds are considered. So here we go, 6 attack dice, and remember these are all +1 because they're furious, and they get to re-roll basically 1s at this point. Because of brutality. So these 2 1s are going to be re-rolled. This 2 becomes a 3, this 2 becomes a 3, this 4 becomes a 5, and this 6 remains a 6. So these 2 1s are +1, and that 3 becomes a 4, and this 2 becomes a 3. All right. So that means all 6 of these dice got through. It's kind of mediocre. I mean, you have a few 3s and a 4, and then a 5 and a 6. So they do have to still roll 6 defense dice, do the Swordsman. Looking to see how much of this they can cancel out. Oh my god. Okay, so they cancel out a 3, and they cancel out a 4. But that's 4 attacks that are going to get through unless they can roll 6s on these 4 dice. Not a single 6! Oh my gosh, the Swordsmen take 4 wounds. So here's a wound, boom. 2 wounds, 3 wounds, boom. And you always remove the standard bearer last, so the standard bearer still has a wound on him. Now this... I just can't wait for these figures. I'm telling you now. I mean, right now, these standard bearers are just generic because of Warriors of Mana. I had them just like this guy has mountains on him, and this just has a gorgeous little pine tree on there. But when the actual stuff comes out, I'm having them paint the actual unit type on the flag. So this would have, for Axemen, this would have like an axe on it. So you always know when you're down to just the standard bearer what that unit was, in case you forgot. Because of course this game, you're going to have all sorts of combats, you know, all over the place. Who knows what's going to end up happening. Okay, so I'm sorry, I forgot where I was again. I believe we're on to the next... No, the Swordsmen get to strike back. Unfortunately, they're rolling 2 dice because they only have 1 guy left. 2 dice, no modifiers, and it's a 4 and a 5, so both of those do get through. And the Axemen don't have any like special defensive things, and they block it both. Boom, those 2 5s means they take no wounds. Okay, so now this last round of combat, whatever it is, 4th or 5th, I can't remember. Initiative roll. The God, what were they? Swordsmen are panicked, so they have -1 to their initiative, and so that means they're both 3, so it's even 3 initiative to 3 initiative. So literally, it's whoever rolls higher on this die, and so it's the Axemen. Oh gosh. Okay. This final Swordsman has a single wound on him. He's taken 6 attack dice here. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this 3 becomes a 4. These 2 4s become 5s. And then this 2 becomes a 3, and we re-roll these 2 1s, and that 1 is nothing, but this 5 becomes a 6. All right, so we have a 3, a 4, 2 5s, and a 6. So 5 defense dice. Can this little single swordsman withstand the assault? All right, so he rolled a 5, he rolled a 6, he rolled a 3. So that means there are 2 wounds that could potentially get through. It doesn't matter necessarily here because he had to defend against all of it because he only has a single wound left. So he has 2 dice to parry, try to get a 6 on at least both of these dice. He needs 6s. He needs a pair of 6s here or he's dead. Nope, he's dead. Pair of 4s means he takes 2 wounds and he is now dead. Oh my gosh, how unfortunate. Okay, folks, so that was an example of a close combat. You can, I mean, obviously with a game like this, there's different things you can do. You can break away if things aren't looking good. Obviously, you'd have other units try to outflank this guy over here and try to do things. So it wouldn't just boil down to these 2 units probably the entire time, but who knows, maybe it would. But the bottom line here is we want to make sure that, you know, combat looks reasonable. So I just freaking love it. Number one, I love rolling dice. That's why I love doing these test combats, because I could sit here and test these units' combats just all day, every day. In fact, that's what I've been doing lately. So it's just so much fun. And then I made these little, because I'm having the company that I'm commissioning the figures through, I'm having them do custom little movement trays like this. So there's movement trays like this, which are 40 millimeters by 60 millimeters. That's for infantry. And can I even get one of the cavalry ones over here without destroying everything? Here's a cavalry one. So these are 60 millimeters by 60 millimeters. And they're going to be painted and flocked. These cardboard ones, most of them I just left them blank, but I did get a little excited when I was making these, and so this cardboard one I did actually flock, and I put some blood splatter on there to show that every time you took a unit, every time you took a figure off of there, you could see their remains, their blood splattered remains. All right, so that is that. This Axemen unit, as soon as a close combat's resolved like this, if he was not engaged to anyone else like he is now, he can make a free change of face, a free reform, as a little bonus for him, you know, doing really well in combat. So that was an example of a close combat. And of course, there's range combat, and again with 12 or whatever different unit types, and that's just the core units, not to mention the mercenary units you can hire into your army. So just let me know in the comments if you like these kind of little unit roll-offs, because again I do this all the time. I just thought to record it this time. And then, you know, this was kind of an introductory one, so maybe I won't talk so much or ramble so much the next time, so that maybe we could do a couple of them in a single video if that's something you like. So just let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, folks, thank you all so much for watching. I do truly appreciate it. And until next time.